us mortals.
Hello there. Are you insane? Get out of here!
Remain seated with your seatbelt fastened.
Right, off you go. Welcome to Average Joe Orlando. Feet don't fail me now. It's time for another episode of Average Joe Orlando reporting for KMV Travel. I am your host, Joe, and today we're going to be discussing Universal Orlando's Mardi Gras. Now, Mardi Gras is one of three big events going on at Universal Orlando throughout the year. This is one of my favorites. Now, if you don't know their lineup, they always kick off the year with Mardi Gras running around February till April, and then we have Halloween Horror Nights running around the end of August to early November, and then Universal Holidays from November to December. And something I like about Mardi Gras and the holidays, it's actually all included with your admission, and there's actually a lot going on, including a lot of big concerts, all for free with the price of admission. So let's dive in and talk about everything there is to offer at Mardi Gras. So every year, the dates will change. However, it'll be around February till early April. This year for 2026, it'll start on February 7th, running daily until, or I should say nightly, until April 4th. Now, they have all different events. Some more things happen on other days, so that's why we're really going to break down everything there is to offer at Universal Orlando. Like I said, this is included with your theme park admission. Also, annual pass holders are allowed in. However, there are certain blockout dates depending on which tier pass you have. So make sure if you are an annual pass holder to check out what's included on what days. Usually the days with the concerts are blocked out for the lower passes, but the higher passes will all be included. But obviously, our friends at KMV Travel can help you out with that depending on your ticket. Now, with Mardi Gras, what is there offered? So as I said, everything is included. So there is food and drink that are specific. So think like an Epcot festival, but at Universal, and they do different flavors. So it's usually a carnival of flavors. They'll call it something different every year. This year it's the international flavors of Carnival, and they're going to have different things from around the world. So pork schnitzel from Austria. Each booth will have like different foods from whatever country it's representing, and of course they're going to have beignets. That's always, I know, a must. They're also going to have a bunch of different bars. They usually have Bloody Marys. I would say a Blinky Cup, but as we know from this past year at Halloween Horror Nights, there was no Blinky Cup. It was a souvenir cup, though, so they always will do souvenir cups with different refills. So think more of a food festival during the day. And then as night creeps in, some of the parade performers will start coming out. So there is a nightly parade, which we will get to, but the performers actually come out to the streets early, usually around the New York area, sometimes a little bit around Hollywood, and they'll come out and they'll have beads. The stilt walkers will be out and interacting with the crowd, and they usually come out usually about 2 to 3 hours before that parade. And then there's also a band, so there's going to be Mardi Gras bands and live music all around that area. This episode of Average Joe Orlando is sponsored by KMV Travel, a travel agency that helps families of all shapes and sizes plan personalized vacations and create unforgettable memories. No matter where you're traveling, to your favorite theme park, aboard a cruise, on an all-inclusive getaway, or beyond, the dedicated advisors at KMV Travel will provide personalized travel guidance and unmatched service at no additional cost to you. To learn more and start planning your vacation with expert guidance, visit kmvtravel.com/Joe. Now, to get you in the spirit, besides the food, drinks, and the performers coming out in the band, they're also going to have plenty of merchandise. And they do a tribute store for this one. So I've spoken about the tribute store beforehand, and but they bring it back now for this event also. So it did start at the tribute store for Halloween Horror Nights, where they have a very detailed story store that pops up just for that event. Then they started adding it for the holidays and for Mardi Gras. They actually even do a summer one sometimes. So Mardi Gras is no different. They will have a tribute store that you can go explore where they'll have event merchandise, specific event merchandise. And for the icon, you might know Little Boo is attached to Halloween Horror Nights, which is the small pumpkin. Then you have, of course, Earl the Squirrel, which is attached as the icon created for the Universal Holidays. This one doesn't have an official, I would say, but King Gator is known as the icon that you'll see on a lot of the merchandise. Now, King Gator is the ending float of the parade. Every year, they do change up the floats. We'll get into the parade, as I mentioned, but the last one is always the King Gator float. And now they've come out with a lot of merchandise around him. So popcorn buckets and t-shirts and everything like that. So you'll see a lot of King Gator merchandise, which is really fun. So definitely can go check out the tribute store, where if you don't want to catch a bunch of beads or you want to get a head start, you could even buy beads there, masks, and really get into the spirit of Halloween, of Mardi Gras. Like, I'm going to keep saying Halloween because I always have Halloween Horror Nights on my brain. But this event is really fun and honestly so high energy and one of my favorite things that they do all year. Also, similar to Halloween Horror Nights, as they do the Dead Coconut Club, they'll do the Cursed Coconut Club. So this is over at City Walk. It is for all ages, and they will theme the Red Coconut Club into a theme bar. So as I mentioned, for Halloween, it becomes the Dead Coconut Club. Over for Christmas, it becomes the Green and Red Coconut Club, and now it becomes the Cursed Coconut Club, featuring a whole different themes, stories. Usually they'll have musicians, different cocktails, very cool vibe in there where you can enjoy before or after the event. Usually it is open on select nights and around 5 p.m. So just go check that out. But free admission over at City Walk for that. Now, for the parade. Now, the parade does happen nightly, and I would always suggest checking the Universal Orlando app for times. It does change sometimes. Relatively, it's going to be at 7 p.m. However, there are some select nights where it will be a little bit earlier, depending on what's going on. But generally, 7 p.m. it's going to kick off, and it's going to follow the same parade route as the Christmas parade did. So if you saw the holidays parade, you'll know it would kick off over by the Universal Horror Makeup Show and then do a full loop. And they're going to throw out beads on there. So there's two parts of the parade. Either you could be a viewer or you could actually participate in the parade. If you want to view the parade, anywhere is good. People are going to be throwing those beads and you're open to catch them. I know I went one year with my nephew and he was covered in beads. We counted the next day and then we sorted them all out. And was so excited, over 100 beads right there. They literally throw out millions of beads each season. And after the parade's fun because you'll see people walking around with giant things of beads around their neck. I know for me, I always find a kid that's excited about it and will just give my beads to them because now I have so many beads at home. I don't know what to do with them. Each float will also have their own beads, so there'll be a lot of different colors you can get, and people go a little crazy for them. So be prepared for people to get pretty aggressive. Also, for the floats, it's fun. The actual creator who does the Mardi Gras, actual Mardi Gras in New Orleans, does the floats for Universal. And they actually have a window over by the horror makeup show, if you look up to the right, dedicated to them. And each year, Universal will do a different theme for this parade. So there has been the elements, there has been space. There's always going to be a different theme based on it. Some of the floats will come back each year, and then some of the floats will actually be brand new every season, along with the performers will have different costumes every season. So it's always fun each year to see what the theme is. Now, the parade is a long parade. As it loops, you basically can't get around because the parade basically ends and then starts at the same point and does a big circle. And as I mentioned, it always ends with that King Gator float, which is a 3-part length float. High energy music. Usually they'll have the band that comes out first, and then they'll start off with the police on the motorcycles. Very high energy parade. Now you could also actually ride a float. So they, in years past, they would do it as just signups around the park and trying to find people. Now they do it as a Mardi Gras float ride and dine. And this is something that you could buy in advance, and you'll get a 3-course meal at a choice of one of your restaurants, and it'll be all listed out. And then you'll also be able to get up on one of the Mardi Gras floats, and you're guaranteed a spot to be on a float. This is something that does sell out early. However, it does include that dinner, and then you can get on the float. Now, I will say something about being on a float. It will take up a chunk of your time for the night times. The years that I've done it, you have to go beforehand, sign the waiver. They put you in like this cool costume kind of thing, and then they go over the rules, how to safely throw the beads. You have to line up backstage, and you get onto the float, and then you kick off. And I will say it is awesome. As soon as you turn the corner, everybody's screaming at you and excited, and you are throwing out those beads one at a time, underhand, towards the crowd. It is fun. And I remember they say when you reach Jimmy Fallon, that means you're at the halfway mark. So check your bead supply, because some people were going through them very quickly. Some people were really going by them slowly. So it's fun if you watch the parade as it's coming in. Some floats will be completely out of beads, and they will just be standing there waving. And some people will be throwing everything they have because they were going a little bit too slow throwing them out. So it's always fun at the end to see, like, is this float going to have a ton to throw at me or nothing? So you can watch it twice as it steps off and as it comes back the float. Now, if you don't want to do the ride and dine, there are different options. They do pass holder signups, which do sell out early and in advance, and they are free. And then they also sometimes do day of. So this parade does run nightly. I will say it is busier on concert nights, which we'll talk about concerts in a bit. Concert nights are going to be the busiest ones. However, during the week, they run this parade. and they always need people. So if they don't have it full, they'll sometimes be looking for people. So usually around the animal actors, a few hours beforehand, they might be out there walking around. And if you see a team member, you could always ask. They'll be in that fun smock, and you'll know they'll be like a bead captain, and you could always ask, are you guys looking for anybody today? Can we participate? And if they have openings, they will let you come in too. And it's all free. Like I said, it might take a few hours out of your day, but I will say you have to do it at least once. It's very, very fun to do. But if you want to guarantee that spot, there is that ride and dine experience, which they started a few years ago, which happens to be very popular. It also is good for them because they're always able to fill up their floats much easier now. Now, with the concerts, I will say do not sign up for a ride and dine or to be in the parade a night of the concert, because the concerts generally happen as soon as it's done. So this is over on the main stage over by Rest in Peace Rip Ride Rocket. That's the big stage. Now, people will line up early. In years past, some people will get to the park as soon as it opens and stand right in the front and wait for their favorite performer. If you are going to go as soon as the concert starts, it's going to be a little tough, because I will say it does get very, very busy over there. I have been there quite a few times for different concerts because, as I mentioned, it is included with your park ticket, and I will definitely go on certain nights if I know I'm going to be excited to go and see the performer. However, I will tell you, I will also avoid going on concert nights if I am not interested in the performer, because that night is going to be busy. Generally, they are on Saturday nights. I'm going to go through the list right now, and those are going to be busier. So the parade, as I mentioned, kicks off usually around 7. Once it passes by, usually around like 7:30, 7:45, they'll start kicking off. It'll be announced what time, depending on the night, that it'll start on the live stage. The nights that I have seen concerts, they do the full set. It is not like a Food and Wine or Flower and Garden, where you might get like a 30-minute set, and then like they'll come on and do another 30-minute set. It's going to be like a full concert. So the years that I went, it was about a 60 to 90-minute concert that the performer did on stage. As I mentioned, it gets very busy around that area. They will set up large screens all around. However, if you aren't planning to stay to the concert, look for that signage around the park, because it is going to be very busy, and they are going to have signs directing you to the exit, and usually it will not be the most efficient way. It'll be more out of the way to avoid the Music Plaza area, because that area is going to be very busy. Now, as I mentioned, they are all included, these concerts, and so you just have to show up and get an early spot, and it is all standing room. And yeah, you have to decide basically, do I want to ride a float tonight? Do I want to go see the parade? Or do I basically want to go see the concert in a good spot? Because if you're going to go see the parade and then just mosey up, you're probably going to be pretty far back. And I've been pretty far back. But at the end of the day, it's a concert. So as long as you could hear it, it's good. So it's starting out on Saturday, February 7th. So the first one's going to be Cascade. Then you're going to have on Saturday, February 14th, Portugal the Man. Then Sunday, February 15th, Ivy Queen. As I mentioned, it's usually Saturdays. Sometimes they will have Sundays also. On Saturday, February 21st, you'll have Joey Fatone and AJ McLean. On Saturday, February 28th, you'll have RuPaul doing a DJ set. And then hopping over to March, Saturday, March 7th, you're going to have Shaggy. Friday, they threw a Friday in. Friday, March 13th, Tyler Hubbard. Then you're going to have Saturday, March 14th, BB Rexa. And then Sunday, March 15th, Zed. Now, seeing that they have 3 that weekend tells me it is probably spring break week. So that's going to be busy. And then Saturday, March 21st, the Bare Naked Ladies. And then Saturday, March 28th will be the last one for the All-American Rejects. So as I mentioned, they're not going to be every single night, select nights, mostly Saturday. And as you can see, there are some different ones in there. March does have spring break for some schools. So around mid-March will be a busier time. So expect the park to be busy for the concert and then also for this event. As I mentioned, though, you don't have to participate in the concert. You don't have to participate in anything Mardi Gras if you want. You could just come to Universal Orlando for the day and go enjoy the rest of the park. The main front of the park will always be decorated, have the music going, have the food going, and then the rest of the park, obviously, everything is still open. You still have all the attractions, the normal shows, and everything. However, it might be a little bit busier on those nights, but you have that free parade every single night to look forward to. So if you're ready to have not the average vacation, be sure to reach out to our sponsor, KMV Travel, a travel agency that provides complimentary vacation planning assistance to families of all shapes and sizes to destinations including theme parks, most major cruise lines, all-inclusive destinations, and beyond. Start planning today at kmvtravel.com/Joe. Once again, that's kmvtravel.com/Joe. Link in the description box below. Well, between the merch, the performers, the band, the concerts, the parade, and of course the beignets, there is a lot to do with Mardi Gras, and it, as I mentioned, all included with your park ticket. So make sure you're prepared when you go to the park, get ready to catch some beads, and prepare to have a good time. So with that, I'm Joe. Thank you for listening to another episode of Average Joe Orlando reporting for KMV Travel, and we will see you in the parks.
Thanks for taking a ride with Average Joe Orlando.
You made it! I knew you would.
Is everyone okay? Hope you still want to open an account.
Say cheese. See you later.
Thanks, everybody. You were brilliant.
At this time, gather up your personal belongings and take your small grubs by their grubby little hands as you exit. Thank you.